everybody keeps trying to rewrite history. But if Cat can sit down on Shay Shay and say all the things that he said, if I can sit here on this couch, the way that whole situation happened, I mean, it was on court document. People were sitting there talking about it, and they still trying to act like that never happened. And everybody else was hired while he directed his own little personal. Like, fuck out of here! Is it a lot going on with Katt Williams right now, or is there just a lot of stuff going on around Katt Williams' name? Because Katt Williams really isn't saying or doing anything.
Yeah, he's not saying anything.
He's on hiatus. His tour is supposed to start back up, the next leg of it. He's not saying anything. He's not doing anything. But there's a lot of action around his name. I would have to agree about that. There was this story, there was that story, there was this story, there was that story, and nobody would corroborate where they got the story from. Because they didn't get it from the news. So who did they get it from?
Curl on tour with Katt Williams, allegedly found dead, shot 5 times in front of Katt Williams' home. Allegedly, Katt Williams' cousin was arrested. Wow.
There's a lot of action around Katt Williams' name right now, but Katt himself isn't really saying or doing anything. He's on hiatus, silent, tucked away while the storm brews louder around him. His tour was supposed to restart for the next leg, a moment fans had been waiting on, but instead, he's disappeared from the spotlight. The irony is, all the noise, all the headlines, all the endless online debates have nothing to do with Katt's actual words or actions. The activity is happening around him, not by him. It's like a chaotic circus where Katt is the unwilling main attraction, while the ringmasters behind the curtain keep feeding the audience a show. One story pops up, then another, none of them corroborated by mainstream outlets, yet repeated enough times online that they start to feel real. But here's one thing, where are these stories really coming from? The timing is suspicious. Whistleblowers had been getting a lot of heat in the aftermath of the Diddy trial and the verdict that shook the entertainment world. Suddenly, Katt Williams' name was being dragged into situations he wasn't even connected to. Of all people, Katt was the one everyone wanted to pin responsibility on, to smear, to drag through the mud, and not in the context of lighthearted gossip or comedic scandals. No, he was being tied to a tragic death. People seem more interested in making Katt the villain than in focusing on what actually happened to the victim. That right there tells you everything you need to know about the agenda at play. The running theme was obvious. Coverage and chatter weren't about justice for the deceased. They weren't about mourning a rising talent or honoring a life cut short. Instead, it was about undermining Katt Williams' credibility, about planting doubt so deep that no one would ever take his whistleblowing seriously again. Because let's not forget, Katt Williams has been one of the only comedians bold enough to call out the dark side of Hollywood, the exploitation, the corruption, the hidden systems that most entertainers tiptoe around, and some very powerful people didn't appreciate his truth-telling. So now they were weaponizing another man's death to bring Katt down once and for all. Comedian Reggie Carroll being killed was genuinely heartbreaking. This wasn't some nameless figure. Reggie was a rising comedian, a young man finally getting momentum, touring alongside some of the biggest names in the game. He was on the cusp of a breakthrough when his life was taken. His death should have been a moment of mourning and solidarity in the comedy world. But within hours, not days, social media lit up with rumors tying Katt Williams to the incident. No evidence, no police reports, no official statements, just a flood of whispers, accusations, and speculation. It wasn't justice being pursued, it was character destruction, carefully aimed at the one whistleblower too stubborn to be silenced any other way. What makes the situation even more twisted is how mainstream media handled it, or rather, we should say, how they didn't. Think about it. A comedian killed in such a shocking way on tour with huge names? Normally, that would dominate headlines. CNN, TMZ, entertainment. Tonight, you would expect wall-to-wall coverage, but instead, there was radio silence. Nothing from major networks, no breaking news banners, no official narratives, just a vacuum, and that vacuum was quickly filled by unverified social posts claiming to have inside information. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book.
Share with you what I think I can. Basically, like I said, there's a call for service related to a shooting incident on Burton Lane here in South Haven. It was last Wednesday, round about 6:30. That kind of time frame anyways. Police arrived on scene very quickly. When they got there, there were two people. You had Traynell Williams and Reggie Carroll. So we have our shooter and our victim. They were both there. The police immediately kind of quartered them off to where they could make room to give aid or make life-saving attempts for Mr. Carroll. Quite frankly, at that point, he'd already received multiple wounds. But as a matter of course, the police did every reasonable effort to try to help. Mr. Carroll was transported to the hospital where they could continue to try to help. At some point in the process, Mr. Carroll succumbed to those injuries. While that was going on, the investigation began. They did everything that you would ordinarily expect in an investigation to, take pictures, gather evidence, talk to people that may have knowledge of anything related to this. And ultimately, they developed Traynell Williams as a suspect. They believe through their diligent and thorough efforts that probable cause existed for an arrest warrant. An arrest warrant was signed by a judge, and Mr. Williams was taken into custody same night. I do want to dispel a few, rumors that may be going around. This was an incident between two roommates that knew each other.
You let the rumor mill spin unchecked while the actual institutions that could provide facts remain quiet. That selective reporting doesn't feel random. It points to something more sinister, a coordinated information blackout designed to control the narrative from the very beginning. And here's where it gets even more suspicious. If only two people were present during the incident, how did so many detailed stories leak onto social media before investigators even made a statement? That's not organic. That's not some random bystander tweeting from the scene. That's manufactured propaganda, a narrative planted and seeded into the algorithm to spread before fact checkers could catch up. When mainstream outlets go silent and social platforms suddenly fill with inside information, you're not looking at journalism, you're witnessing information combat. Someone wanted the story told a very specific way through unverified channels to maximize speculation and minimize accountability. The silence wasn't about protecting privacy or waiting for evidence. It was about creating the perfect breeding ground for rumors.
Mississippi, this is a dumb.
But
you talk about what somebody not, and I'm not talking about what somebody is. But have you ever seen somebody come forward before the closed and say what somebody is not?
Sure,
I never saw that. So they know for sure it's not this. And I don't know. But I'm just saying, what the a show for TV is this?
That could destroy a man's reputation without a single shred of proof. And sure enough, a key player in the smear campaign stepped up early, linking Katt Williams' name directly to the incident. The timing wasn't coincidental, it was calculated. The goal was to make Katt the headline, not Reggie, to twist the tragedy into a weapon against the one voice they hadn't managed to quiet. Even after official investigations cleared Katt, these same voices doubled down. They refused to accept the findings, refused to let the story die, repeating the same baseless claims over and over. And let's be real, when someone keeps attacking a person who has already been cleared by law enforcement, they're not after justice. They're executing character assassination, and the lies only work because people accepted the base narrative without digging into the facts. And the facts collapse the moment you look at them. Propaganda painted the tragedy as if it happened at Katt Williams' property. But when you dig into reports, you find out the property wasn't even his. It was leased to an LLC. There were roommates, separate contracts, layers of distance. Katt has always compartmentalized his life, separate residences, separate workspaces, deliberate lines between public and private. That doesn't point to involvement, that points to distance. But the propaganda machine doesn't care about distance, it cares about convenience.
Everybody's talking about, oh, he was a brother, and him and Katt were so close. Were they? Do we really know how close they were? Then people want to make a big deal. It's Katt Williams' house. People said that they seen him at that house. So just because you see somebody at at a residence, that instantly means they own it. Maybe fans were watching him go in and out. I don't know. What I do know is that it was owned by a corporation and it was leased to a corporation. And Reggie and Mr. Carroll and Mr. Williams, what's his name, Trinell or something?
Yeah,
like that?
Trinell, Marquise Williams.
Yeah, Mr. Williams were roommates there. Then you want to hear people saying, oh, well, if they was down there working with Katt, why weren't they staying at Katt's house? Katt has always, as far as I can remember, kept certain parts of his life separate. You know, when he had the house in Marina Del Rey in LA, his children didn't live there. The only people that came there were the people that were working, that were writing for the Adult Swim show and writing jokes, working with him on his comedy specials. His children lived in a completely different other house. And he went back and forth.
Right.
People that know him know that he's always lived his life compartmentally. So for people to make a big deal about, well, it was supposed to be Katt's house. Well, it's not Katt's house. It was leased to the LLC. Yeah, but I don't understand. If he was down there with him, why wasn't he staying in his house? Like, people seem to be making a big deal about a lot of things.
And the smear didn't stop with Katt. It extended to the victim. Suddenly, Reggie Carroll was being painted as volatile, emotional, even prone to violence. Why? Because if you reduce sympathy for the victim and increase suspicion toward the accused, you create a dual character destruction. You minimize empathy on one side and maximize doubt on the other. That's not news. That's manipulation. That's someone running a playbook. The truth, though, came from where it always does in criminal cases: law enforcement. Official investigations identified a suspect, executed an arrest warrant, and very clearly cleared Katt Williams of any involvement. And here's the key detail. When a district attorney publicly states that no connection exists, they're putting their own professional reputation on the line. That's not something done lightly. That's vindication. That's the system saying, we checked, and this man had nothing to do with it. But vindication didn't stop the campaign, because this was never about justice for Reggie Carroll. It was about exploiting tragedy to destroy a whistleblower. It was about silencing Katt Williams after the Diddy verdict by framing him as toxic, dangerous, and untrustworthy. Social media has become the battlefield for these wars. Whistleblowers are targeted systematically. They're dragged, smeared, discredited, sometimes even ruined. For years, Katt had somehow escaped that level of focused destruction, until now, until Reggie's death created the perfect opportunity. That's not coincidence, that's strategy. And the way they went after him was ruthless. They inserted his name into the narrative without evidence. They expected people to believe it because Katt stayed silent. Silence became guilt. But let's break that down. Why was he silent? Lawyers often advise silence. In high-stakes situations, silence isn't cowardice, it's survival. And Katt isn't new to this. He's been arrested before, he's been targeted before. If he had the power to pay off authorities, why has he been publicly arrested so many times without convictions? The idea that he could buy his way out of this while never buying his way out of those collapses under the weight of logic. What makes more sense is desperation from those pushing the narrative, grasping at anything to make it stick. The darkest part of all this is the expectation of a real death being used as collateral for a different agenda. Reggie's passing became an opportunity, a tool, a chance to discredit one man and warn every other whistleblower, speak up and we'll ruin you. That's chilling. That's the kind of blueprint industries use to control narratives. Wait for tragedy, then weaponize it, not for justice, but for silencing threats. If they can destroy Katt Williams with these methods, if they can make even his vindication look suspicious, then they've perfected a formula that can silence anyone at any time. no matter how much truth they carry. Because once the smear takes root, facts barely matter. The stain is permanent. That's the true crime here, the systematic silencing of truth tellers while the world scrolls past, distracted by the next headline. Katt Williams may have been officially cleared, but the machine keeps grinding, and the real choice lies with us. Do we accept the comfortable fantasy, the carefully constructed lies that keep the system intact, or do we recognize what's really happening, that the last untouched whistleblower is being destroyed in plain sight, and once he's gone, there might be no one left brave enough to expose what's hiding behind the glitter and gold of Hollywood's facade? Because at the end of the day, this was never just about Katt Williams. It was about control, about silencing, about teaching a lesson to anyone who dares to speak the truth. And if they succeed, we may never hear the truth again. So pay attention, watch closely, because the circus isn't just around Katt Williams. The circus is the system itself.
Young Thug business is wild all over the place. Rock Nation, every other week, there's something else bad coming up and coming forward. I don't know if you guys are looking into what's going on with the investigation into the Block Corporation and the whole Cash App.
And once the ringmasters finish with him, they'll be ready for the next act. If you like this video, hit subscribe so you never miss new content. Until then, fam, keep it real.